Hello and welcome to this video where we'll come into a Python course and how this course is structured. So where you can find all the materials, and there's a lot of materials for you to find. It could look a little bit strange in the beginning when you haven't seen it, but actually everything is put into a very neat, very structured way. So I'll just show you how to find different things. So this is still within the introduction of the course. I hope that this will be interesting for you and that will be easy for you to find the materials that you want. Okay, so let's start with the keynote. So here I am in the keynote. So how this Python course is structured. Starting with everything can be found in this course GitHub repository. So we work a lot with Git and GitHub in this course. All the materials should be in a GitHub repository for you to see. So this GitHub repository, you can check on it just online, or you can fork it and clone it down. It's up to you how you want to do it. Here is all the materials. It's structured in folders. You can see it says 00 intro, 01 code structure, etc. You come into, for example, strings. Then inside there's always a README where there's some information and some links to videos, etc. And then there's usually Jupyter notebooks, but sometimes there are scripts when that is more suitable. So it's a combination, and sometimes there's also data folders when we're working with data. So it's a little bit different what each of the folder contains. And inside of each READMEs, you'll see this. So videos found in README of each lecture. So here, this is me, but the cartoon version generated by ChatGPT-4o model. So you can see here is a little bit of what the video is about. And this one is about the if statement. So you have a lot of videos throughout the whole course. So just go into where you want it to be and which subject you want to study, and then click on the video and watch that one. And then I advise you to code along it. But I will come back a little bit about strategy, how you could use this material to learn in the best way. And then there's also a lot of exercises. Here we have exercise 0, 1, 2. We have more exercises. So just go in there and practice a lot. That is what I advise you to do. Because if you just watch me code or just follow along coding and you think you understand it, but then you actually don't remember how to do it, and then it's good to practice. So exercises is very good to do. And note that if you're following this course IRL in real life with me, then you will have labs, and those can be found in your learning management system. However, if you don't follow this course IRL with me and just watching these videos online, then unfortunately you can't access the labs. Yes. So the tech stack that we'll work with in this course is, of course, Python. And here we'll work with UV Virtual Env for virtual environment. And this is super good. It's written in Rust. And this is what we will use throughout the course. Say something about virtual environment is that you need to use virtual environment in order to isolate your packages, because we don't want the packages to live in the global installations, because there might be some issues with some packages colliding with other packages and some depends on other packages, which makes the code break, and it's not very good. Good practice is to, for each project, you have a virtual environment for that. And for this course, you should have a UVVenv for the whole course in a repository that you're working with. And for me, in each demo, I will show you how to create a UVenv in case you have missed the previous videos, so that you see how to create if you just jump into a specific video. And then we'll go into fundamentals, and the fundamentals mean, okay, input, output, variables, data types, control structures, functions. We'll go into matplotlib, we'll go into a lot of different things, so I don't remember everything by heart. Now I'm reading it from my notes. So then there's sequences, which contains lists, sets. We have a dictionary, we have strings, we have error handling, file handling, functions, plotlib, if, while statements. Then we go into OOP, object-oriented programming, and there we go into fundamentals, what class means, what instance mean, object mean, attributes, methods. We'll go into encapsulations. In encapsulation, we'll have private by convention, we'll have name mangling, and we want to hide the implementation, and then we want to expose some parts of the code, which are public methods. Also, we'll go into properties. In properties, it's easier to have the things that you want to expose and things that you want to hide in the implementation. And then we'll go into OOP documentation, we'll go into OOP inheritance, OOP polymorphism, unit testing, we'll go into Python to work with OOP in data. You want to have a structured way of working with data because this is very important. If you strive towards becoming data engineer, data analyst, data scientist, or similar roles, it's important to know how to handle data in a structured way and have good validation. And for that, we have Pydantic. And then we'll go into OOP theoretical to go in more depth of how the object-oriented programming in Python really works. And also we have some convention on Python. So there's too much for me to write out, so I don't add everything here, but you can look into the code structure to see that. And then we work with Visual Studio Code for IDE, but you can choose whatever IDE you want. And then to work with the what is called version control, we use Git. So Git, we will work with Bash if you're in Windows, and if you're in Mac, we'll work with the terminal. This is for version controlling locally so that you have backup of your code, you have a history of your code. And then to get the backup, we need GitHub. So we store all the Git repositories in the GitHub. So when you're working with me throughout many courses, then you will have several courses in your GitHub portfolio by default. So this is a super good advantage when you use it for applying for jobs, for example. And also you see your own progression. You see how you grow throughout your learning journey. So version control on GitHub, and then we'll work with Bash CLI so that you'll work with the command line. You'll work with commands such as cd, touch cd to change directory, ls to list files, mkdir to make the directories. You'll have some other commands so that you'll get used to working with the terminal. And this is important because in your data journey, you will probably in many cases not have GUI to help you. So you don't have a graphical user interface. Instead, you have a terminal that you have to interface with to control the computer, for example, a virtual machine or a Docker instance. Yes, and then moving on to a few study technique tips. So what you should do is to get an overview of the subject before, it's good to look at the glossary, and I always add the glossaries in my exercises. So inside of the exercises, we have a lot of glossary, and for that, you should check it up, and you can take LLM for help, but don't let LLM just write all the glossary for you. Instead, you should summarize it with your own words so that you get some kind of a sense of what is it about, what is the thing that you will learn. And then make sure when you're watching the video, you should do this before class, of course, if you're doing this IRL with me. Pause and code along. Type out code, never copy paste code, because if you copy paste code from me, you copy paste code from LLMs, then you bypass the learning. You don't learn it. You need to type it out, get the muscle memory, and then reflect upon it, right? And watch several times. And the thing with videos, maybe it's going very fast, but you can always pause, you can always go back, you can always watch again. So a video of maybe 30 minutes may take 2 hours to finish, and that is totally fine, and nothing wrong about that. And then in the class, discuss with your classmate, bring up questions. So here in class, it's more a social learning, right? So now you're active in class because you've already typed out the code before. You don't need to code along during class. You can code along some parts, and some parts you can just listen and bring questions and discuss and try to make sure that you understand. And then after the class, you have practical exercises, go back to the video, check with LLM and check resources. However, it's very good to work with exercises to make sure that it hurts when you're doing it. So that hurting is actually a good thing here because your brain needs to work hard in order to learn these concepts, in order to create new connections. It doesn't create connections through an LLM creating all the exercises for you. And then the resources, just skim through them. And some resources you may need to read them more deeply, but skim through them before the next class and you come into the next lecture. So here I am in my GitHub repository in the Python course. So you can see that here is all the lectures that you can look through. And for example, we go into sequences and you can see there's README here, which will show automatically in GitHub. And you can see here are the videos. So if you click on them, they will jump to YouTube and you can watch the videos, right? And then sometimes there are read more, so you can, it's a reference to other places where you can read more about this, and also other videos if you think. It's also good that you watch other videos and not just watch me, because if you get different inputs from different teachers, right? And also when you're reading from a textbook, you should read from several textbooks because you get different perspectives on the same subject, and that is a very good thing to do. Because maybe some other person explaining will make you feel like you learn better, or maybe I explain and you will learn in a certain way. You learn some parts and you learn some parts from other people, so that combine it and it will make your learning more comprehensive. And also here you can see here are exercises. Right now I have a few of them. So for example, the first exercise here, this is the Git and GitHub exercise. So that here's what you should do, and the exercises here. And usually I have a glossary and I have theoretical questions as well, so that you should skim through this before the class. And you can take LLM for help to search these things up, but you should type it out yourself and summarize it yourself. And do this before class, because then you will learn it better during the class, because you've already heard these terminologies, right? And yeah, similarly here, here's the first Python exercise. So you can see there's some exercises, there's theory and glossary as well. And also one thing is that I don't leave solutions, because the thing is there's a lot of different ways to solve these questions. You should try it yourself. And also there's possible to get solutions afterwards by asking LLM, right? But you should take that as a last resort to ask for solutions. Instead, if you have done some coding and you want to make sure that you want to know how to improve it, you can ask the LLM, can you improve this code? Can you come up with other suggestions on how to make this code better? Or how would you solve a similar question? So in this way, you use it as a tool to help you learn instead of just using it to solve the exercises. And also it's good to compare the solutions of your own solutions with your classmates. So you get different perspectives on how to solve different things. And also I highly encourage that you work together. So pair programming or mob programming is super good. And I will go through what the pair and mob programming means later on. That will be really interesting. Okay, so now you've seen me going through both some course structure and some theory about how to study, and then I'm going into my GitHub repository to see where you can find different types of material. And I hope that this was interesting for you and you learned how to navigate through this course material. So thank you and see you in the next video. Bye.